immediately blushed, staring at him with embarrassment and anger, gritting her teeth. "I'm just worried about you," Perseus said calmly. "How are you? Still in pain?" "It doesn't hurt anymore," she answered honestly, her face turning frighteningly red in the firelight. "It was all too rushed before, and I didn't have a chance to talk to you. Now we can finally sit down and have a chat," Perseus said. Carol remained silent, which was taken as tacit consent. "Let me introduce myself first," Perseus said. "My name is Perseus Perrin. I'll probably only use the surname Perrin in very few occasions from now on, so you can just call me Perseus. I'm currently studying at the Imperial Magic Academy, and I don't have any hobbies other than beautiful women. Well, you don't need to look at me like that. No man dislikes beautiful women, and no man you've ever met is any more noble than me." Carol just pursed her lips. "Thinking about it carefully, I don't think I have much else to say besides these," Perseus asked. "Why don't you ask what you want to know, and I'll tell you depending on the situation." Where are you taking me?" she asked. "It's hard to say," Perseus said honestly. "My current plan is to take you to Eagle Peak City to be an adventurer for a while. During this time, you don't need to worry about your safety. You just need to know that as long as you behave well, you can just eat, drink, and have fun without any worries." "That sounds like the kind of stuff those stinky men in town use to scam young girls," Carol scoffed. "But I'm different from them. To be irresponsible, I'm a very responsible man when I'm willing to take responsibility. Since I've chosen to bring you along, I won't abandon you for no reason or use you to pay for drinks." Although he spoke sincerely, Carol still looked at him with suspicion. "What's next?" she asked. "What happens next is up to you," Perseus said. "I'm using this time to build a relationship between us. If we succeed, I'll take care of you for the rest of your life. If we fail, then I'll send you back to where you were and compensate you for your losses." "You mean if you don't like me after this period is over, you'll give me some money so I can stop bothering you?" Carol rolled her eyes at him. "Don't make me sound like a heartless scumbag who starts something and then abandons it," Perseus said. "Your thoughts are more important than mine. After all, building a relationship with a beauty like you would be a piece of cake for me. In fact, I already have a bit of a crush on you." "Nausea. I'm not just referring to physical attraction." Carol pouted. "Whatever. I can't do anything about you, bully, anyway. So do whatever you want." "So you agree to stay with us for this period of time?" Perseus asked. Carol glared at him fiercely. "You bastard. Why didn't you ask if I agreed when you took me away? How am I supposed to go back now? How can I face anyone after this?" Perseus scratched his head, somewhat embarrassed. "I was thinking that we had that kind of relationship, and you must be feeling very insecure right now. If I just leave like this, you'll definitely think I'm irresponsible in abandoning you. You might even try to commit suicide. To avoid that kind of tragedy, of course I have to take you with me. Then, after a while, when I've calmed down, you'll abandon me and shirk responsibility?" Carol said coldly. "Of course not. If you want people, I'll give them. If you want money, I'll give you money. What if I don't want either of them? Then what do you want?" Perseus asked, puzzled. Carol was stumped by the question. She didn't know what she wanted. "Is there anything you really want to do, but haven't been able to?" Perseus asked. "If you don't want people or money, I'll help you fulfill your wish, and we'll call it even." Carol glared at him fiercely, her eyes suddenly turning red. Perseus panicked slightly. "If you don't like this way of putting it, I can use another one." "No, that's not what I meant. I just want to be done with you, and never see you again." Carol's voice trembled with tears. "There's something I desperately want to do, but can't, and that is to avenge my family." "Your family?" He remembered her saying earlier that day that her entire family was gone. He had initially thought it was due to illness, but now it seems there must be another reason. "Yes, my family." Carol rubbed her eyes, gritted her teeth, and said bitterly, "They were murdered. It's over. Yet another girl whose entire family was killed." Perseus didn't care. No matter how powerful this girl's enemies are, they could never surpass the Dog Emperor. Even if it were the Emperor himself, it wouldn't matter. He actually found it easier. Anyway, he was going to avenge Ivaisa, and at the same time avenge Carol. Wouldn't that be killing two birds with one stone? Thinking of this, Perseus's face turned grave. "Who murdered your family?" "Oomph. It's no use telling you." "I'm not telling you." Carol seemed to have really remembered something sad, and she kept sobbing. Her attitude towards him was already bad, and now it got even worse. Her crying attracted the attention of Ivaisa and the others, who all looked over, probably thinking he had done something embarrassing to Carol again. Perseus sighed. "Do you look down on me that much? At least for now. I'm your man, and you can try to rely on me. Don't you want to listen to whether you're even speaking human language? Then you can stay silent and let your enemy live a carefree life while you sit here, crying and throwing your little tantrums that nobody cares about. Perseus chuckled, stood up, dusted himself off, and was about to leave. Wait a moment. Carol hurriedly grabbed his hand. What's wrong? You want to tell me again? Perseus raised an eyebrow. Mm. Carol was a little embarrassed. You were just getting angry at me, and now you've changed your attitude. What kind of person do you take me for? Perseus frowned. I am sorry, Carol blushed. Is an apology all it takes? Then what do you want me to do? Carol was about to cry again. Give me a kiss. Perseus had no choice but to give in. Carol looked at him, took a deep breath, and mustered her courage to ask. Where to kiss? Of course it's a kiss on the cheek, you stupid woman. Perseus scolded sharply. He almost lost control. Oh, Carol dared not disobey and lowered her head obediently. Perseus sat back down, calmly accepting her kiss. My enemy is the Lord of Eagle Peak City. Carol's gaze was frighteningly cold. Perseus looked solemn. Lord of Eagle Peak City. That's it. Chapter 131 Someone. The first Lord of Eagle Peak City was the ancestor of the Perron family, the first Earl Perron. The so-called blessings of a virtuous person last only 5 generations. The Perron family may not be exactly gentlemen. They began to gradually lose control of Eagle Peak City in the 3rd generation, and by the 7th generation, they had completely moved away from the city. From this point on, the Perron family had already begun to decline, and what followed was nothing more than a continued downward spiral. Until Perseus's grandfather's generation moved to Luke Village, the downhill road was over, and it was time for burial. Ownership of Eagle Peak City initially changed hands among nobles. This city is prosperous, but it's truly unlucky. Whoever occupies this city will have an unsettled household and begin to decline. As a result, ownership keeps changing, sometimes several times a year. Eventually, it was confiscated by the royal family and became a new imperial territory. Therefore, the current Lord of Eagle Peak City is a commoner official appointed by the imperial government, not a nobleman. Commoner officials like these, due to their humble origins, were naturally despised and ostracized by the nobles, and had no choice but to be extra loyal to the royal family. Otherwise, they would not only lose their official positions, but also their lives. Being appointed to manage a large city like Eagle Peak City, this city lord naturally enjoys considerable trust from the emperor. In other words, it is even more difficult to deal with him than with many nobles. You should consider the owner before beating a dog. The owner of this dog is the dog emperor. Perseus cannot openly confront the emperor yet, so if he wants to avenge Carol, he cannot act rashly and has to take a roundabout approach. It's a bit of a hassle, but he's already said it. Being untrustworthy is truly despicable. Besides, he doesn't dislike going in circles. When did your family have that accident? Perseus asked. Just 3 months ago, Carol said softly. What? My father and brother were grooms who tended the city lord horses. One day, the city lord's son's favorite horse suddenly fell ill and died. He blamed my father and brother for it and made them pay compensation. Of course, we can't afford to pay that. Then he would come to my house every few days with his guards to cause trouble and harass my mother. My brother couldn't take it anymore, so he hit him, and then the rest is history. For ordinary families like Carol's, powerless and without influence, they are nothing more than meat on a chopping board to a powerful figure like the city lord's son. If you assault someone, the consequence will be the destruction of your family and death. Although that guy never intended to let them go in the first place, that punch only accelerated that process. In any case, Carol's family died tragically, and no one sought justice for them. How did you escape? Perseus asked. I wasn't home at the time, and when I heard the news and rushed back, my house was on fire, so I ran away, Carol said. My teacher, Hans, was a friend of my father, and I had nowhere else to turn but to him. Didn't the city lord's son get himself hunted down throughout Eagle Peak City? Carol shook her head. That guy probably thought that even if Carol, a weak woman, escaped, she wouldn't be able to do anything to him. Old Hans is really a kind man, Perseus said. If anyone else knew about this, they would probably sell you off instead of taking you in. I didn't think that much about it at the time, Carol said casually. My teacher advised me to run away to another place so that those people wouldn't come looking for me, but I didn't want to go too far. Why? Because if I run far away, I might forget about my parents and brother. I don't want to forget. I still want to avenge them one day. Carol clenched her fists. They're quite spirited, although what she called revenge probably just involved delivering food. She was lucky that she managed to stay calm and not rush over immediately. Perseus was silent for a moment, then said, "Killing the city lord's family is your wish." "Yes." Carol's eyes shone brightly. "Can you do it? Just one more kiss and I'll be fine." Perseus smiled. "Ah." Carol sneered. "If you can avenge me, I'd give you my life, let alone kiss you. What would I do with your life?" "Of course I want to. But can you really do it?" she asked doubtfully. Perseus was somewhat displeased. It's normal for most people to have this question. But even when a girl's enemy was the emperor, she didn't question him so directly. Moreover, her enemy was merely the emperor's dog. "Don't worry, I mean what I say," Perseus said. "I will not touch you until I have avenged you. That's my resolve. Is that all right?" "Actually, it doesn't matter," Carol said shyly. "It's not like it's the first time. I'm not that disgusted." "Hiss. Is it because he's skilled, or is she just a slut by nature?" Perseus thought about it seriously for a while, but couldn't come up with a solution yet. If we can verify it more carefully, there might be a chance to make a breakthrough. Since the atmosphere is a bit somber right now, let's lighten it up with something happy. "Let's do it." Perseus grabbed Carol's hand. Carol was startled, but did not resist. Winnie, who had been watching from afar, was a seasoned veteran who knew all too well about such matters, and she almost rolled her eyes to the heavens. At the critical moment, a strange noise came from afar. Someone has entered his hunting range. Perseus released Carol's hand and stood up at the same time as Ivisa Katie. Katie drew her sword and rushed to Perseus's side, staring intently in that direction. Chapter 132 Bloodfang Adventure Team. Upon hearing the commotion, everyone tensed up. Even Carol picked up a piece of firewood, staring intently ahead with a tense yet fierce expression. 5 people emerged from the shadows, a golden ratio of 2 men and 3 women. They were all dressed in typical adventurer attire, with fitted clothes, minimal decorations, and wearing leather or armor. Each of them was fully armed and exuded a capable air. Of course, the biggest distinguishing feature between adventurers and ordinary people is their soldier-like aura, forged in countless life and death battles. They stood only at the very edge of the camp, where Perseus and his men could barely make out their faces and what was in their hands, and then they stopped going forward. The 2 sides maintained a distance that was both safe and unsafe. Safety means that these people know how to maintain a proper balance, neither showing hostility nor engaging in any sneaky behavior that could be misunderstood. The insecurity lies in the fact that even if they know how to maintain a proper distance, their presence can still provoke some hot-tempered or suspicious adventurers, leading to a bloody battle. "Please don't be nervous. We mean no harm. We're just adventurers returning late. Seeing that we could no longer enter the city, we wanted to find a place to rest in the forest. We accidentally discovered a fire here and thought we would like to come and take a look." The leader was a handsome young man with a sunny and cheerful smile. He raised his empty hands to indicate that he posed no threat. His companion, another man, was a middle-aged man clad in heavy armor, wielding a terrifying-looking long-handled giant axe. The other 3 girls, one dressed in a classic wizard's robe and holding a staff, looked very aloof. One of them wielded a greatsword, and their appearance and hair color were similar to the young man's. Even their smiles were identically sunny, clearly indicating a sibling relationship. The other one was a scantily clad, tall, muscular woman carrying a large bow. At first glance, she looked like a strong man. If it weren't for the 2 huge breasts on her chest that were almost assimilated by her pectoral muscles, it would be truly difficult to tell whether she was male or female. After a quick glance, Perseus smiled gently and said, "Our situation is similar to yours. It's quite a coincidence. If you trust us, this place is spacious enough for you to rest here. Thank you so much." Without hesitation, the young man came over with several companions. Judging from this situation, either these people are idiots or they are extremely confident in their own abilities. In this world, adventurers don't have the kind of beautiful relationship where they help each other, trust each other, and write songs of courage together. In the city, they indulged in all sorts of vices, including eating, drinking, gambling, prostitution, swindling, and fraud. In the wild, they may turn into wild beasts at any time, preying on each other in a law-based world. Many adventurers simply cannot withstand close scrutiny. If you do, you'll find that this guy has a criminal record that surpasses even the most vicious criminals in prison.